Your brand new survival knife just failed. The tip snapped off. The edge is dull and chipped after one weekend. It's made of the latest super steel with a tactical coating and a high-tech handle. And it's practically useless. Now picture a simple butcher knife from 1835, forged in a Sheffield workshop, shipped across an ocean, hauled to the Rockies. A mountain man bought it for a few beaver pelts. For 20 years, it was his most important tool. It skinned hundreds of beaver, butchered dozens of bison. After he was gone, it was passed down for another century. And it never broke. How? What did a 19th century blacksmith know that modern manufacturers forgot? It was 7 forgotten principles. Master them, and you'll understand why the best survival tool isn't the one with the most features, but the one that never lets you down. My name is Sam, and this is Wild America. Number 1. The myth of stainless steel. We need to start by killing a sacred cow of the modern knife world, stainless steel. We've been taught to believe that stainless is the ultimate knife material. It's shiny, it's low maintenance, and it never rusts. But what we're not told is that this convenience comes at a cost, and that cost is toughness. The mountain man's knife was made of simple high-carbon steel. There was no stainless steel in the 1830s. It wouldn't be invented for another 80 years. Carbon steel is, in many ways, the opposite of stainless. It rusts if you look at it wrong. It will develop a patina, a dark gray coating over time. It requires care and attention. But it has two massive advantages that, for a man whose life depended on his tools, were non-negotiable. It is incredibly tough, and it is incredibly easy to sharpen. Toughness is a knife's ability to resist chipping, cracking, or breaking. It's the difference between a blade that bends and one that shatters. High-carbon steel, when properly heat-treated, has a level of toughness that most stainless steels can only dream of. A trapper could use his knife to pry open a wooden crate, to split kindling, or even to dig in the hard frozen ground without fear of the tip snapping off. He knew that the blade might bend, but it wouldn't break. And a bent blade can be straightened. A broken blade is just a piece of scrap metal. Modern stainless steels achieve their corrosion resistance by adding large amounts of chromium, at least 10.5%. But that chromium, along with other elements added to create ever more exotic alloys, forms hard, brittle carbides within the steel. These carbides are great for holding an edge, but they make the steel more prone to chipping and breaking. It's a trade-off: corrosion resistance for toughness. And for the mountain man, that was a trade he was not willing to make. He would rather spend a few minutes each day oiling his blade than risk having it fail when he was miles from civilization. Comment carbon steel below if you understand that toughness is more important than a shiny blade. Number 2. The lost art of the whetstone. The second forgotten principle is the art of sharpening. The mountain man's knife was not a disposable tool. It was a lifetime investment. And the key to that longevity was constant, obsessive maintenance. Every trapper carried a whetstone, a small, smooth stone used for sharpening his blade. And he used it every single day. A modern knife owner might sharpen their blade once a year, if at all. We've been sold the myth of the knife that never needs sharpening. We expect our blades to hold a razor edge indefinitely, and when they inevitably grow dull, we either send them back to the factory or, more often, we just buy a new one. To a mountain man, this would have been incomprehensible. He understood that a sharp knife was a safe knife. A dull knife requires more force to use, which increases the risk of slipping and causing a serious injury. In a world without doctors or antibiotics, a deep cut could be a death sentence. But the ease of sharpening was not just a matter of safety, it was a matter of practicality. A trapper in the field did not have access to a modern, high-tech sharpening system. He had a simple stone and the skill to use it. high-carbon steel is relatively soft compared to modern super steels, which makes it incredibly easy to sharpen. A few strokes on a whetstone were all it took to bring a dull edge back to shaving sharpness. This meant that a trapper could maintain his knife in peak condition, no matter where he was or what he was doing. Modern stainless steels, with their hard, wear-resistant carbides, are much more difficult to sharpen. They require specialized equipment, like diamond or ceramic stones, and a lot of time and patience. For the average person, this is a major inconvenience. For a man in the wilderness, it would have been an impossibility. The mountain man's knife was a tool that was designed to be maintained in the field by a man with nothing but a stone and his own two hands. It was a system that was self-sufficient, just like the man who carried it. Comment Whetstone if you believe that every knife owner should know how to sharpen their own blade. But here's the problem nobody talks about. The steel and the sharpening were only half the story. A knife is more than just a piece of metal. It's a system. And the most important part of that system, the part that determines whether a knife will last a lifetime or snap in your hand, is the part you can't even see. It's the hidden architecture of the blade, the invisible genius of its construction. Number 3. The power of the full tang. Look at a modern survival knife. It's a riot of features. It has a serrated spine for sawing, a hollow handle for storing fishing line and matches, a built-in compass, a bottle opener. It's a Swiss Army knife on steroids. Now look at a mountain man's butcher knife. It's a single piece of steel with two simple slabs of wood or bone pinned to the side. It has one feature: it cuts. And it does that job perfectly because its design is focused on one thing and one thing only: strength. The secret is a concept called the full tang. The tang is the part of the blade that extends down into the handle. In a full tang knife, the tang is the same shape and size as the handle itself. The handle is essentially two scales, or slabs of material, attached to either side of the steel. This means that the knife is, for all practical purposes, a solid bar of steel from the tip to the butt. It is incredibly strong, incredibly rigid, and almost impossible to break. Many modern knives, especially cheaper ones, use a partial tang. The tang might be a thin rat tail of steel that is threaded into the handle, or a short, stubby piece that is epoxied into a plastic mold. These designs are cheaper and easier to manufacture, but they create a massive weak point right where the blade meets the handle. All the force of prying, chopping, or twisting is concentrated on that one small, fragile point. It's a catastrophic failure waiting to happen. The mountain man would have found this idea absurd. Why would you deliberately create a weak point in your most important tool? His knife was an extension of his hand, and he needed to be able to trust it completely. The full tang construction meant that he could put his entire body weight on the handle. He could hammer on the butt of the knife to split wood. He could use it as a pry bar or a digging tool, and the knife would not fail. It was a simple, elegant, and brutally effective design. It was a design that was born of necessity, in a world where a broken tool could mean a broken man. Broken man's life. Number 4. The wisdom of simple design. The fourth forgotten principle is the wisdom of simplicity. The mountain man's knife was not a work of art. It was a tool. And like all good tools, its design was dictated by function, not by fashion. It had no unnecessary curves, no decorative flourishes, no features that did not contribute directly to its ability to cut, chop, and slice. This simplicity was not a result of a lack of skill or imagination. It was a result of a deep understanding of the principles of good design. The mountain man knew that every extra feature, every unnecessary curve was a potential point of failure. A sharp corner is a stress riser, a place where a crack is likely to form. A complex shape is more difficult to forge, more difficult to heat treat, and more difficult to maintain. A simple, straight-backed butcher knife was the distillation of centuries of trial and error. It was a design that had been proven in the forests and on the battlefields of Europe long before it ever made its way to the Rocky Mountains. Compare this to the tactical fantasies that dominate the modern knife market: blades with aggressive, angular grinds, handles with a dozen different finger grooves, spines with complex, saw-toothed patterns. These features may look impressive, but they often compromise the structural integrity of the blade. They create stress points, they make the knife more difficult to clean, and they serve no real purpose in a practical working tool. They are features that are designed to appeal to the eye, not to the hand. The mountain man's knife was designed for the hand. The simple, straight handle was comfortable in a variety of grips. The smooth, unadorned blade was easy to clean and easy to sharpen. It was a tool that was meant to be used, not just admired. It was a tool that was born of a world where function was the only thing that mattered. Comment: simple is strong if you agree that a tool should be judged by how well it works, not by how it looks. Number 5. The myth of the Green River knife. No discussion of mountain man knives would be complete without mentioning the legendary Green River knife. The name has become synonymous with the fur trade, and the phrase "up to Green River" has become a part of American folklore. But the true story of the Green River knife is a bit more complicated than the legends would have us believe, and it reveals a crucial and often overlooked aspect of the mountain man's relationship with his tools. The Green River knife was not, as many people believe, named after the Green River in Wyoming, a major hub of the fur trade. It was named after the Green River in Greenfield, Massachusetts, the home of the J. Russell and Company. And while the Green River Works did produce some of the finest knives of the 19th century, they didn't even start stamping their blades with the famous Green River Works logo until 1837. By that time, the fur trade was already in decline. The last rendezvous was held in 1840. This means that the classic Green River knife, the one that we see in movies and read about in books, was probably not as common in the mountains as we have been led to believe. The real knife of the mountain man was a more anonymous tool. It was a Sheffield butcher knife, a French trade knife, or a blade forged by a local blacksmith. It was a tool that was valued not for its brand name, but for its quality. The mountain man was a savvy consumer. He had to be. His life depended on it. He would have carefully inspected any knife before he traded his hard-won beaver pelts for it. He would have checked the temper of the steel, the quality of the grind, the fit and finish of the handle. He was not buying a brand. He was buying a tool, and he knew how to tell the difference. This is a lesson that we have largely forgotten. We are a culture of brands. We are taught to trust a logo more than our own judgment. We assume that a higher price tag means a higher quality. The mountain man would have found this absurd. He knew that a fancy logo and a high price were no guarantee of a good tool. He knew that the only way to judge a knife was to use it. And he knew that a simple, well-made knife from an unknown maker was infinitely more valuable than a poorly made knife from a famous one. He was a man who trusted his own experience, not the marketing of a distant company's. Comment: quality over brand if you believe that a good tool speaks for itself. Number 6. The secret of the heat treat. This is perhaps the most important and the most misunderstood aspect of what makes a good knife. You can have the best steel in the world, the most perfect design, the most robust construction. But if the heat treatment is wrong, the knife is junk. Heat treatment is the magic that turns a soft, useless piece of steel into a hard, tough, and durable blade. And it is an art that the old-time blacksmiths understood in their bones. Heat treatment is a 3-step process: austenitizing, quenching, and tempering. First, the blade is heated to a precise temperature, a glowing cherry red, where the internal structure of the steel transforms. This is austenitizing. Then the blade is rapidly cooled or quenched in a liquid like water, oil, or brine. This freezes the steel in its transformed state, making it incredibly hard, but also incredibly brittle. A quenched blade is as fragile as glass. The final step is tempering. The blade is gently reheated to a much lower temperature, a pale straw or a peacock blue. This relieves the stresses created during the quench, and it trades some of the hardness for toughness. The result is a blade that is the perfect balance of hard enough to hold an edge and tough enough to resist breaking. Modern knife makers have a huge advantage in this process. They have electric forges with precise temperature controls. They have a deep scientific understanding of the metallurgy of steel, and they have a wide range of exotic quenching oils and tempering ovens. The 19th century blacksmith had none of this. He had a charcoal forge, a pair of bellows, and his own two eyes. He judged the temperature of the steel by its color. He knew from years of experience that a certain shade of red was the perfect temperature for quenching and a certain shade of blue was the perfect temperature for tempering. It was a skill that was passed down from master to apprentice, a secret language of color and heat. And here is the crucial difference. The old-time blacksmith was a craftsman. He was making one knife at a time. He could afford to pay close attention to every step of the process. He could watch the color of the steel. He could feel the way it moved under his hammer. He could adjust his technique to the unique character of each piece of metal. Modern knife making is a mass production process. Knives are churned out by the thousands in factories on the other side of the world. The heat treatment is often automated, with little room for individual attention or adjustment. And in that gap between craftsmanship and mass production, the soul of the knife is often lost. If you believe in the value of craftsmanship, hit the like button. The mountain man's knife was not just a tool, it was a testament to the skill and the dedication of the man who made it. Don't be on the side of soulless mass production. Number 7. The philosophy of repair. The final forgotten principle is not about how the knife was made, but about how it was used. The mountain man lived in a world of scarcity. He could not afford to be wasteful. He could not afford to throw things away. Every tool, every piece of equipment was a precious resource to be used and reused until it was completely worn out. This was a philosophy of repair, not of replacement. And it was a philosophy that was deeply embedded in his relationship with his knife. A modern knife is a disposable object. When it breaks, we throw it away and buy a new one. When it gets dull, we buy a new one. We live in a world of planned obsolescence, a world where things are designed to fail. The mountain man's knife was the opposite. It was designed to be repaired. When the tip broke, he would regrind it to a new point. When the edge chipped, he would sharpen it out. When the handle cracked, he would replace it. The knife was a living thing, a tool that had changed and evolved over time. It was a record of a life of hard use, a map of 1,000 different tasks. This philosophy of repair was not just a matter of economics, it was a matter of survival. A man in the wilderness could not simply go to the store and buy a new knife. He had to be able to rely on the tools he had. He had to be able to fix them when they broke. This meant that he had to understand how they were made, how they worked, and how they failed. He had to be a blacksmith, a woodworker, and a mechanic, all in one. He had to be a master of the art of making do. Today, we have lost this art. We are a culture of consumers, not of creators. We are taught to value the new over the old, the disposable over the durable. We have forgotten the quiet satisfaction of repairing a broken tool, of bringing a dull blade back to life, of extending the life of a trusted companion. The mountain man's knife was more than just a tool. It was a symbol of a different way of life, a life of self-reliance, of ingenuity, and of a deep and abiding respect for the things we own. Conclusion: the soul of the tool. So why did a trapper's knife last a lifetime, while yours breaks in months? It wasn't because of some secret magical steel. It wasn't because of a lost ancient forging technique. It was because of a set of simple, powerful principles. It was because of a philosophy that valued toughness over features, function over fashion, and repair over replacement. It was because a knife was not just a tool, it was a partner, a companion, a trusted friend in a world that was often hostile and unforgiving. The next time you buy a knife, don't be seduced by the tactical marketing, the exotic steels, the endless list of features. Look for a knife that is simple, strong, and honest. Look for a knife with a full tang, a high-carbon steel blade, and a simple, comfortable handle. Look for a knife that was made by a craftsman who cares about his work. And then learn how to take care of it. Learn how to sharpen it, how to clean it, how to repair it. Learn to see it not as a disposable object, but as a lifetime companion. And you will have a tool that will never let you down. For more on the tools that built the American frontier, check out our video on what mountain men understood about log cabins that we forgot. My name is Sam, and this is Wild America.